everybody. Welcome back live at Drew's house. Another edition. Hope you're all doing well. Hope September is going well. I got a good friend, good personal friend, and a good friend of the show here on today. I'm very excited about this. He is the former program director at 92.5 The River, morning host at WBOS, currently with WBZ News Radio. And let me just say, if you do not know Matt Phipps, if you do not know him in the radio business after 30 years, I don't actually believe you're in the radio business.
Yeah.
Everybody knows you, man.
Thanks for having me. Second go around.
And actually, second time in studio here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to one day get that fancy robe they give out to the five-timers on SNL.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Tom Hanks, Paul Simon.
Is that what they do? It's a robe?
It's a robe.
Yeah.
And you go in a room.
You get your
There's
own
not
room?
much in the room. You just kind of stand in the room, though, as I remember.
Have you ever done the SNL show?
No, man.
I've kind of wanted to. No. I've never done it either, but
it
seems like fun.
Check that out.
It'd be a fun show to attend. I like New York in the wintertime. Maybe.
Man, it's great to see you, buddy.
It's great to see you, too.
Really?
Man. You look great.
As do you.
That's sweet.
Shorter hair?
It's been a topic of conversation. Yeah, it happened up in Maine. I let my wife take the scissors. Mm-hmm. Got a little weird. I said shoulder length. We went a little shorter. You know how that goes. but yeah, what's the deal with you? You get the child back to school about this time of year, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, how's that going?
It's weird because he had a day.
Dom is his name.
Dom, my boy. 7. Yeah. He had a day. Then he had no school, Labor Day weekend. Then yesterday they were voting at the school, so no school. So he's back today after like a week off.
Yeah, weird.
So it was.
Why do they do the pre-Labor Day thing?
I don't know, man.
I never went back to school pre-Labor Day.
See, Boston's like smart. Let's just start Thursday.
Yeah. Let's start when we have no roadblocks.
Right, exactly.
I never understood that. I never even understood going back before the Labor Day weekend. It's like, it's still part of summer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like it. How's the, it must be weird to be a 7-year-old after going through 3 years of a pandemic.
Man, I tell you.
You got stories, do you?
Well, it's tough enough for college students, high school students, but imagine a bunch of kindergartners on, basically a gigantic Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
Doing virtual learning. They don't know how to do a mute button.
Right.
So there's just all kinds of random awfulness going on in the background while the teacher's trying to,
It's just noises.
Oh, man. I mean, I was in the background going, hit your mute button! And my son, even at the age of, 5, like, Dad! Yeah.
Parents must stand behind and be like, oh, this is horrifying.
I wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
I was not the only one. Yeah. But he got through it. I mean, he didn't mind it. He didn't mind the virtual learning.
I mean, kids are great with the technology, right?
Yeah. He's really good, He was cool, and it hasn't been too much of a social transition either going back to school. You would think that that's going to be tough for a kindergartner.
Kids figure that stuff out, I think.
He was fine.
Yeah.
He's good. It's a whole different world now. I mean, you don't get to run around in the neighborhood like crazy, Lord of the Flies type,
yes.
Right. Hoodlums. You set up play dates now. It's all different, but, you just try to get them out there and socializing. And yeah.
I mean, my cousin has what does that make her? My cousin's daughter, about that age.
Yeah.
Whoever that is, whatever that makes. My niece, right?
Yes.
Cousin's daughter?
That would make
kind of a niece.
Yes. I believe so.
But yes. So she is like unbelievable. You give her like the iPad or you give her the phone, she'll navigate. She figures stuff out for me.
Yeah.
Why can't I get through this?
Resilient is the word.
Yeah.
They're
well, you're not
resilient.
connected to the Wi-Fi, Drew.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Do you have the code? Of course I do. You don't have the Wi-Fi code yet?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that sort of thing. They're good with the technology. Well, that's good. Did you guys get through the pandemic okay?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. We've had a great summer too. It was very
fast is the word I've been
using.
Yeah.
It was very juvenile because it was just all kid stuff. It was the most kids summer and ever since I was a kid.
Yeah.
We went to Legoland in New York for a little getaway.
Yep.
Roller coasters and Legos and really overpriced.
Is that just because that's
park food?
Is that just because it's 7's the time to really start doing that stuff? It's prime time.
He loves Lego, and it's good for younger kids. Nothing too out of scary or anything.
Gotcha.
Went to his first show at Fenway Park.
Oh, what'd you take him to?
Imagine Dragons, his favorite band.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember.
But here's the thing: he loved Imagine Dragons, right?
Yeah.
But his first, taste of live music, we're walking up the runway to see Fenway Park for the first time, which is a pretty cool thing anyway.
Yeah.
Baseball, concert, whatever you got going on.
Yeah.
We get to our seat, and Macklemore is wrapping up his set.
Oh, Mac, yeah, okay.
Okay? And he kicks, his last song was You know, so we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Remember the big hit he had?
I do, yeah.
Crowd's going nuts. So Dom's just like looking around, and all of a sudden you see him start to, you know, and then by the time he's raising the roof by the very last verse, like with everybody else. So that was like his first little.
What a cool way to see Fenway Park for the first time.
Yeah, man.
I actually do remember it for the first time. I guess I'm a baseball guy, so I grew up loving the game. And then you know the deal. You walk up the steps, like you just said, and usually you see the green grass for the first time. I mean, that got me. But it must be unbelievably cool seeing the big stage out there in center field. Macklemore, never mind.
Yeah, and you know, I remember doing that same walk when I was a kid and seeing Fenway Park and the smells and everything.
It is a moment.
So I was a little sad that it wasn't a baseball game that he was there for first, but it's okay because it was still a really awesome experience.
Yeah.
And we sat near cool people, so it wasn't like any sort of odd thing. And he had a kid in front of him so he could see.
Oh, good.
Like I was like, oh, man, what if he's behind some 6'6" dude? You know.
This is I went to a Springsteen show at Fenway, and this is a true story. Do you know who I had right in front of me?
No.
Bill Walton.
You know, that's not fair, right?
I mean, I am not a short guy, but Bill Walton is also not a short guy.
No. Oh, that's
I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, I'm behind NBA great Bill Walton.
That's funny. I sat behind Robert Parrish at a movie when I was like 12 years old. I did, in Framingham.
You have no idea what movie it was.
I missed the whole thing. It was the Chief, though, you know.
Oh, my goodness. That is funny. Yeah, Bill Walton, Springsteen fan. I heard he's a big Deadhead as well. A lot of
huge. Yeah. Like huge.
Like around the country.
Like hundreds of shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I watch a basketball game that he calls, and he mixes in all sorts of references.
Right.
I mean, it's like he has to mention it 5 times.
That's right.
Like, I love Bill Walton. But, well, that's cool. So you're people remember you from the last show. You were like I go to you for all my musical advice, musical questions, anything regarding music I go to you on. You pretty much were, you guys, 92.5 The River is still a very popular station, of course. You're at WBZ now, but you look back on those days. You must look back fondly, huh?
Very fondly.
Good times.
It was the dream gig for me because that's all I really ever wanted to do was program a station.
Yeah.
Choose the music, the imaging.
Not the stuff that was on the radio. It was different.
Yeah. The on-air stuff was great too but that was just sort of a continuation of what I was doing off the air. That was taking the music, putting it on the air, and saying, "Hey, check out this band. Bastille. Check out this band."
Yeah.
So and so. So it was, and it came from out of the blue, which was the cooler part about it. I just got a random call that they had an opening there, and I reached out.
Who was it? Somebody that knew you, or just
a friend of a friend who's actually the midday person at the River right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Carolyn Morrill. Hi, Carolyn. We worked at BOS together, and she said, "I think they're looking for people."
Oh, all right.
And I sent an email. They brought me in, and I remember going on the air for my first shift, and not only was the general manager listening, but the owner of the station, and like people on the board of directors at the station, just like everybody was listening to me. I'm like, oh, come on, let me just do one show, then listen to me.
Yeah.
And they hired me after the
It's not how it works
trial
sometimes.
thing, but great run, good people, and independent station. So there was some room there to wiggle as musically.
Yeah.
You can take some chances and. We don't really see that all that often.
You don't. It's funny. There was people don't forget that stuff either. When I joke around about how everybody knows you, it is a true story. Like we had 92.5 The River is big in this city because they do the River Fest here, of course, and so they were all here for a week getting ready for that show. And they had I know they had Adam Ezra. They had.
Brett Dennen.
Brett Dennen.
I was there for the show. Actually,
did you go
to visit some? Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
I got invited. Hey, come on.
Yeah.
By,
Chad Hollister, a friend of the show, was there.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see Chad?
I did see Chad.
Yeah, it was great.
He sounded great.
It was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so a lot of those friends, and it's like funny, those indie artists, like they don't forget the people that kind of gave them those early breaks.
Absolutely.
Which I love about that.
And a guy like Chad is somebody who you could call on to say, "Hey, Chad, we're doing this event. Would you mind playing?" I'll be right there.
Right.
And it goes both ways, and we're happy to promote his new album. A big gig he's got coming up for a record release party or something like that.
Yeah.
It was a real community. We had a Rolodex of great musicians who would drop anything to help out the river.
Yeah.
And that's currency you just don't get when you're...
Who wouldn't drop anything, Fipsy?
Hey, right. Yeah.
No, but who wouldn't?
Yes.
Who's the one artist that wouldn't do it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Don't worry about it. You don't have to answer that one.
Violent Femmes. That was a whole other thing. Came that close to booking them for Newburyport, and it didn't happen.
Oh, really?
But it seemed like it was going to happen,
Oh.
and it just...
So we had a sad Fipsy?
Yeah.
I call him
things
Fipsy,
like
Matt
that, you know.
Phipps. That's true. Can you give me? I know we've been down. I think we went down this road last time you were on the show, but I just love this story of the Lenny Kravitz interview you did.
Oh my God!
You got a chance to sit down with Lenny?
Yeah, he was. This was fly away. Are you going to go? I mean, he was the top of his Lenny game, you know. Yeah. And I was told to interview him, but it was going to be at his beautiful suite at the Park Plaza Hotel.
He didn't want to move.
No, he didn't want to know. Just you come to me. And
yeah.
really, it was that. You know, it was kiss the ring kind of a thing. And I remember there were 7 other radio people there, and I was the last to be interview him, which stinks because he would have heard every single question, and then you're going to go in there and ask the same old questions, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm sitting there. I'm like, what am I going to do? I gotta get him. I gotta bring him into me. I gotta do a emotional bond. And I had remembered that he had produced this recent album by this other artist, and that's how I started the interview, by talking about that artist. And he was like, "Oh, you heard that record?"
Yeah. And
he was all excited, and we talked about it for like 10 minutes. So that was the way that's always a way to get somebody if you're 7th in line for an interview.
Yeah, yeah.
But the cool thing was after the interview was done, he gets a phone call, and he's like, "Oh, hang on a second." And he's like, "Hello? Oh, hey, Stella. Oh, you can't make it? Ah, all right. Okay, cool. Bye." Stella McCartney had called him. He had asked her to go with him to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony that was happening the next night.
Yeah.
And he was like, and I asked him, who was it? He goes, and he told me, and I go, I'm free, Lenny. And he goes, you ain't that cute, man.
Oh, that's good. So he liked you.
We had a nice, good chat. And it's just when artists see you go the extra mile or not mention the same old things over and over again. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
You've interviewed. I mean, man, you've interviewed an idol or two, like Nils Lofgren comes to mind. I mean, that must have been...
Nils was a big one for me.
It's a moment when you meet someone you especially love to go. I mean, my God, that's gotta, I mean, Nils must have been great.
Legend. Yeah, he gave me... he doesn't give short answers, and I mean that in a good way. Like, he's very thought out,
Yeah.
And so we ended up, I mean, I definitely knew I pushed the show, but it was like a natural thing. Like, he wanted to keep going. You can usually tell when somebody's like, it's time to get out of here.
Right.
I think he gave me like an hour and 10 minutes, an hour, 20
that's
minutes.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it was a pandemic. We're just nothing else to do. But he was great. Yeah, we talked about everything. Springsteen, Prince.
Yes.
Because Prince had just died. Actually,
I watched all hour and 10 minutes of it.
Did you really?
I remember. It was
great. Yeah, it was in his. It was fun. The interesting part about that was, I don't know, you probably remember this part, but he was talking about that Prince solo the night after Prince had died. They were in, I think, Brooklyn, Springsteen and E Street. And he told me how it all played out, because I wanted to know, how did you get the solo? Like, Bruce could probably do his version of it. Stevie's up there. Stevie Van Sant could do it. Nils, you could argue, maybe is the most accomplished out of all those guys as far as guitar work anyway. But he goes, no, they could have done it. But we just went up. I just wanted to be ready. And I just remember it came to that part, and Bruce just looked at me for rehearsal. So I went. And I did it once. He goes, I was ready. I did it once, and it was kind of a somber thing. Bruce was taking a loss of a friend kind of hard, and after the song, he looked at me and he goes, "Yeah, boys, that sounds right. We're good." And he was just like, "All right,
that's magic.
That's how we're gonna do it." It is. You think to yourself, they probably practice it 10 times. Let's make sure you get it right. Maybe we'll try all 3 parts. Maybe all 3 of us will take a trade-off guitar, but no.
There are those goosebump moments in radio. Okay, so I remember interviewing Colin Hay. Oh, yeah. Men at Work frontman. Yeah. Okay. And one of my favorite all-time songs is Overkill by Men at Work. Okay. Great song. And I asked him if he could do it acoustically. And before he said, "Oh, yeah, of course I'll do it," I go, "Tell me about this song, Colin. I mean, you must know you had It was a really good one. He goes, oh, yeah, I knew this was a real good one.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I don't really do this one acoustically too much. And he did it acoustically, and I was literally in tears. It was so nice. And then a couple of years later, he started putting that more and more into his show until that version became more well-known than Men at Work's version. In fact, they used it on like an episode of Scrubs for like the whole final emotional scene of one of the episodes.
Kidding.
Him playing the acoustic version of Overkill. So
that is funny.
I'd like to take credit.
You should. That is great.
But that was
what a great story that is. Those shows,
moment.
When those shows pick up a song, that launches a song.
Oh my
I had because I get a lot of that just as we get a lot of independent smaller artists here, but and they'll say that like General Hospital picked up my song.
It's a moment. It's a real. I mean, man, you look for any way to get your music out there because at this point you even say, okay, I'll do a commercial. I'll do it for a commercial because you have to.
Yeah.
If radio's not going to play you, then...
Yeah, the days of we're not going to do commercials because it's...
over.
Yeah.
Pete Townsend realized that.
Yeah.
Take all my songs for CSI.
Exactly.
Take them all. Use them all. They'll cost you, but
I was in high school, I remember, and I saw Bob Dylan do that. What was it, that fragrance commercial? Or
yeah.
Just
for
that
Lovesick.
Weird thing.
For Lovesick, right?
Was it Lovesick? I don't remember.
Yeah.
But when I saw him do it, I go, Bob Dylan's doing it. It's over.
Yep.
Everybody can do it now.
Yeah.
It's those days are done.
You can't blame them.
You can't. No, I mean you're right. It's a different world now.
I mean, do you see what Spotify pays an artist for?
Yeah,
it's
so Nils, right? We talked about that. He actually posted a. It's funny we had already mentioned Nils, but he posted a check. Nils Lofgren has a pretty damn good solo career.
Yes, he does.
Like with writing credits.
Yeah. Like
never mind the Neil Young stuff, Bruce Springsteen. Like a lot. Like his music is especially 80s like. Couple big albums,
yes.
90s maybe.
Yes, and one of his songs used in The Sopranos in a very big episode. So that was another one of those songs that kind of took on a new life.
Point being, this is not some guy playing the local bar. He showed me a check for like $11.72.
Yeah,
for I don't know how many months it was. It was a long period. I was like, what?
Yeah, and Nils Lofgren can laugh, but
yes,
the dude trying to, pay rent, it's not easy.
It's such a weird debate.
My God, what that did to musicians. It killed careers all over the country.
It did. I mean, some of these people that come in here, they have opened up about legit depression. You don't think about not being on stage. I've been on a stage since I was 16. I'm 40 now. I don't know life without a stage. And they said I couldn't go on. I was like, what? And streaming just wasn't the same. But the Spotify debate does come up a lot. But I get a sense of where you stand on it. But I try to be fair and balanced with it because I also have artists here who come in and say, I will tell you that Spotify has been like a career rejuvenating thing for me because I get put on these playlists and I've been lucky enough with that. And I see people grow at my shows and suddenly my 100 people shows now I'm pushing 1,000 people at some of them. And they were like, so in that way, Spotify's been good. So yes, they don't pay artists fair enough, but I also have artists who do make that case. So it's very... I don't know. I'm conflicted. I think I know where I stand. They don't pay artists enough, and I think that's where it stands for me. But I also do hear that other side of where Spotify has been good for people.
I'm on the fence because...
If you're on the fence, then I feel safely on the fence.
I mean, there's an artist that I follow on Twitter. He's a guy who had a couple of hits in the 80s. His name is Peter Godwin. Mm. He had one really, really big hit, okay? Mm. And for years, it wasn't on Spotify. Yeah. For years. Just about a month and a half ago, he posted, I'm finally on Spotify.
Yeah.
The original, not a remade version, not some remixed thing, the original version that was on the radio. That's huge for him.
Yeah.
Because there are people who are making 80s playlists. They're like, okay, I'm going to put, Aha, and I'm going to put, I'm going to put Joy Division. And, that Peter Godwin song. There it is. Yep. So every little bit helps. Yeah. But again, it's all about exposure because now it could end up on some other playlist, some other compilation.
Right.
Some podcaster mentions it and it goes viral. So there is another side to it.
Might go viral from this. You just mentioned it.
I just did. Hi, Peter Godwin. He's a very nice guy, too.
Is he? Yes, very good. Matt Phipps joining us, radio veteran here in our Newburyport studios. You were outside. We got some sun shining today. You were taking in the sun before I got here. You beat me here.
Sure was. Sure was, Buster.
Fall's nice around here.
Fall's nice.
I think you feel like I do. I love summer.
Yeah, I don't mind 95 and
Every day.
muggy every day. I
Every
love it.
single day.
I love it. I love being outside on the water. Winter is
Scary.
definite hibernation for
Yeah,
me.
it's
It is.
scary.
I don't ski. I don't frolic in the snow.
Yeah.
I don't like to frolic.
And
in the
music-wise, like I mean, there can be great little wintry clubs or shows that you go to. Maybe there's a fireplace. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe, whatever. Ski lodges have good music sometimes, but there's just something like about summertime here that just brings the music out. Every like place you go to has live music.
Yeah, and we appreciate the good weather.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're in California, any place else where it's beautiful year round.
Yeah.
No, you really appreciate the fact that you can sit outside on a 75-degree night,
Yeah.
crickets chirping.
I think I'd appreciate it though if I lived in San Diego too.
No kidding.
I have buddies out there too, that,
No kidding.
and maybe they take it for granted a little bit, but they're like, "Oh, you'd love it here. It's perfect every day."
I know.
And I was like, I
am I doing?
could take perfect every day.
Yeah. Something about this area, though. I
know.
don't know what it is.
You think I'd miss it? You'd miss it.
Yeah, I think we would all miss it.
Too much family, right?
Family's a big part of it, but just the change in seasons is cool.
Yeah. It's
It
just
is.
that winter's too long.
Yeah,
Not
that's
to
the
get too
problem.
depressing. Like,
Starts
I even
in
like
like
it.
November and goes till like April
Yeah.
now.
I
And
know.
there is no spring.
There is no.
There's 3 seasons basically.
You going with 3 seasons?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3.
Yeah. I like 2 seasons and then like the bridge of spring and fall. Mm-hmm. This fall's not that long either.
Yeah.
But it still feels like summer here in September, I think. But once you get to once winter comes, Christmas pass, after January 1st, New Year's, I'll give you New Year's. A little snow on New Year's, I'm good. After
Yeah.
that, February, long.
Yeah.
March, long.
It is a long death march
Yeah.
to get to March.
It is.
Yeah.
Nice. That was good.
Yeah, like that.
But I don't know. I like the music gets you through, I guess. But the shows are better to go to outside. All these places, every place. I don't know if you've noticed this. I've mentioned it to artists, and they're like, I don't know. I think you just appreciate it more. And I thought I appreciated it before the pandemic, but it seems like more places have live music these days around here.
Well, they're starting to again, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but it feels like they came back with more.
You think so?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the circles I'm in. I know a lot more people, but there was one theory about how one of the, I know one artist told me, I do think there is something to that. And the pandemic, a lot of that pandemic money that was passed around,
Yeah.
one of the boxes on there was, do you host live music, live entertainers, do you pay? And I believe if you checked that off, so I think
Right.
a lot of these places were like, we better make sure we continue to honor that. But I don't know the details of that.
Right, and it's nice to see some rock clubs coming back. What was the place in Cambridge? It's
The Passim?
Passim.
Club Passim, yeah.
Passim's coming back.
Yep.
But I just read moments ago, breaking news.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah.
Middle East.
Yeah.
Middle East is being
All 3 rooms.
gone.
Ah.
You talk about memories. Oh man, have I seen some great shows there.
Tell me.
Holy
Go.
moly.
What do you got?
I gotta think about this because they all blur together back in the 80s. I was living in the city. I was young. Sonic Youth. I remember seeing there. Dinosaur Jr. But even like bands like the Tubes, I've seen there, and Cracker.
Yeah.
But but in different rooms too. You see the up and coming bands in the upstairs and the big artists downstairs.
Yeah.
But I heard they're going to put a hotel up and possibly have Middle East clubs in the basement of the new hotel.
All right.
How is that going to work? But
Yeah.
okay.
Doesn't feel like the Middle East.
No, there is a certain feel of the Middle East,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was the last great gritty rock club.
Oh, it's
in
gritty.
Boston. It is gritty. There's stuff on the floor from
All right.
3 decades ago.
I knew
That's
you were going to
fine.
say something about that because I went to a show at Jesse Malin. I don't know if you know him. He's kind of like a punk rockish kind of guy. But I went to see a show of him there. I remember. Did he have a band or? Yeah, he had a band. But he came out and did like a solo thing for like an encore. And he covered a Neil Young tune. It's escaping me what it is at the moment. But what was it? Was it Down by the River? No. He did something. He did a Neil Young song. He's a big Neil Young guy. I've seen him do a few covers. And he did this thing where he walks into the crowd. And it's the basement of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Everybody's standing. We're all best friends, shoulder to shoulder, sweating all over each other.
Has floor area.
He has everybody get down on the floor. Sit down on the floor. Everybody does it, no question, including me.
Yeah.
At one point, halfway through this, I did a little talking part in the middle. At one point, I do think to myself, "Oh God, I can't believe I'm on the Middle East floor."
What is that? A Zima bottle cap in my knee? Ow.
Oh man, true story. I was there with my
great.
cousin Ashley. I'll never forget it. She did it too. God bless her.
The last show I saw before the pandemic hit was at the Middle East too. It's funny. I went with Bill Abbott, BCNer, old school, former Patriots halftime host.
Oh,
Bill
okay.
Abbott.
Yeah.
And we went to a show there, and literally a month later, it was everything shut down. Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, that's last show before the pandemic, huh?
Yeah. You remember what yours was?
I do. Weird night.
Yeah.
I went to see the Avid Brothers
Oh yeah.
in Worcester.
Great band.
Wife and I made a call to go there.
I remember that. I talked to you on the way.
Yeah.
Remember I don't know what we were doing.
I think she actually, you know what I think she actually said to me? I think she goes, "I'll go. I've just had a very busy day."
Yeah.
Ask Matt. If he says no, I'll go.
Oh, wow.
I think that's what, unless, and it could have been that. Maybe we were just trying to get you and your lovely wife to go as well. But I think that's what happened. So she does that to me a lot.
Right.
I can't go. I try to get somebody else. I'll go last resort. Because you know me, I'm all doing a million things.
And then one of the first shows after was me and you went to go see our guy at
We went
Blue
to
Ocean Musical.
Martin Sexton.
Martin Sexton.
Yeah, it was just, yeah. I mean, how good was he?
Man, he was great.
So good.
Just him up there with his guitar yodeling away.
Making a million sounds.
Oh, God, he's good. No, he's so good, man.
He's so good.
Holy moly.
Yeah, I've seen him a few times.
Talk
Actually,
about a troubadour.
I
Jeez.
got to see him with I've actually got to see Martin Sexton with like good friends along the way. It's funny. He's, you know how you like to like introduce people who you really, really like. You try to bring people that you think would really, really like it. And I remember I took Dave Robichaux to a show too, old friend at WBZ TV.
Yes.
Hello, David. But so he was blown away by Martin. But Martin actually let me interview him after that show.
Oh, that's cool.
That was a good one for me because it was like he was exhausted. I knew he was, and his wife actually came up to me. And his wife is lovely as well, but she was like, I know he's had a long one. Like, it's been a tough show. Like, he was doing a whole thing with a choir, and they had to run through it. It wasn't just him solo.
Right.
So it was a long day, and I was like, all right, I'll just take a couple minutes if you can do it, just literally a couple minutes in and out, just a quick interview. And she came back. She goes, yeah, he's good. Come on back. And he went back. Not rushed at all. He was literally eating his I think he brought pasta with him or something. Like, it was not some like glamorous, thing. It was just a band man on the run, and he was just like, yeah, no, great show tonight, great show. And he sat down with it was just a fun interview for me because he was just very he was a genuine guy, you know.
That's cool.
Which comes across in the music, I think. But yeah, he's fantastic. He played Ipswich the other night. Have you ever been to that place in Ipswich? I haven't either. I forget the name of it, but right on the water. Blue Ocean's a fun place too. We had a fun night that night.
Good people at Blue Ocean too. I'm rooting. You know, that's a place you root for because
I just read a story about how those places are kind of struggling to get people back still.
Yeah.
Like
And that's what I mean. I mean, you really, they're doing what they can to get people in the door. They're doing some tribute bands because they always, but they're still doing original music as well. So they're
Yeah.
you scrape and survive, and
Yeah.
hopefully the tide turns.
John Moynihan, who runs the firehouse over here down the street in Newburyport, he's a
Yeah.
good friend of the show, and he was
Great
telling me, he's
place.
like, I'm noticing the people that come out are great. We see a lot of this familiar faces, but one thing I'm missing is a lot of those familiar faces too. Like, just there's usual people that never missed shows that would always be there on that night or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said some of them just aren't ready to be back in crowds, which I don't know. Like, I don't really feel that as much because I think I'm out and about, and I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a little bit younger. I don't know. But I think maybe for that crowd, they do a lot of plays. Maybe if you're 60 years old with a health condition, you're still very much feeling like it's a pandemic. Right. So
it really depends on where you are. Yeah,
I get
in
that.
your life. Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know. So, but it does feel like we're coming out of it. So
Agreed.
we'll hope the winter's smooth. The winter's smooth. You did a lot of that. Most of your work was at home during the pandemic. Is that a weird lifestyle?
It's a good lifestyle if you have a kid.
Yeah.
That's really the only.
You would have
that's
hated
the driving force for me right now.
Yeah.
Just because, my wife does a 9 to 5, so being able to have the afternoon to, be with my son, especially over the summer. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of hours to fill there, and
Dad, what are you writing? Does he bother you during the job?
he's cool. He really is cool. He likes to hear the music that you choose. during the newscasts.
yeah.
Especially if you throw on an Imagine Dragons song.
Oh, good to know.
Because he knows. He'll say, "Did Drew choose that one?" I go, "Yeah, buddy, Drew chose that one."
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, he'll sit there while I'm writing, and he'll hear certain stories, and he'll talk about them.
Maybe we can move a Imagine Dragons song into our playlist here for the next
Oh
time.
man,
See what we can do.
You know, that's how
Anything
that's how
Imagine-
you endear yourself. You know? That and Pokemon and Legos.
I was
But
gonna say,
it's cool though. He's become quite the little musical.
At 7.
You know, at 7, he loves Alt Nation on Sirius because they play a lot of Imagine Dragons, but they also play like Bastille and a lot of really good new bands. And but he's also his favorite bands right now. We talked about this the other day. Imagine Dragons, Jack White.
interesting.
Bastille, and I guess who would be his other one? I don't know. I have to think about that one for a minute. But
Jeff
he
Brown,
loves
a
Jack White.
mutual friend of ours, also a big Imagine Dragons fan.
I didn't know Jeff was an Imagine Dragons.
I don't even know if he is, but he loves that Thunder song. Thunder, feel the thunder.
I can't imagine him being joyful over anything, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, they're such a joyful band.
Yeah.
He is such a lovable, miserable.
Gruff, I believe, was the
louse.
recent word. Yeah.
No, he's not a louse. He's actually the best.
We do say. I mean, how we've for those of you who don't know, so for many years, it's been different since the pandemic, but for many years it was Matt, me, Jeff Brown, was Deb Lawler for a while.
Right.
Who am I missing? I mean, that's kind of the core group in the mornings.
Jay.
Yeah. Jay Gates.
Yeah. And for a while there, Carl Stevens was there for a long time.
Katie Gallagher. Yeah, I forget. The pandemic messes with my time. I forget who was there before. But, I mean, that morning crew was just...
a lot of fun. Yeah. And, I mean, it's...
Past guys, too. Josh Binswanger was great.
Josh. Awesome. Good people.
It was. I mean, we get up at crazy hours.
That's it.
Those are fun days, man. I don't know. People are like, God, have you done that for so long?
And I've gotten so used to the lifestyle of getting up now that I don't know if I could ever go back to something that wasn't. No. I like having the day.
Yeah.
I really do.
But I mean, I won't sleep in on the weekends anyway, but it's like there's something about just the morning period I enjoy, you know?
Yeah.
I like that time of day.
Yeah.
I like watching the sunrise. I do. I like my coffee.
Amen, brother.
I don't know. It's
Amen.
Good. The Fenway show with Imagine Dragons, by the way, meaning to ask that, are they a fun live band? Is it weird for you bringing your kid? Because you're probably dissecting it from I've seen a million of these shows.
So that show was really great, and I think there was probably a reason behind it. I think 3 of the guys in that band went to Berkeley.
Yes, you're right.
I think it's 3 of them.
I only know that because the Grammys. I remember looking at back then. Yeah.
And this was a huge moment for them.
Yeah.
And they put that little bit extra into the show. They're very positive, but they're not like hit you on the head sort of They just they walk it like they talk it. They do a lot of charity work.
Yeah.
And they can write the heck out of a hit. They can write a hit song. These guys have like 15 hits.
Do they?
In their
15?
short. Oh, there's got to be the whole set list. I was like, I know that one. I know that one. I know that one.
Really?
You know, just massive. They're one of the biggest bands in America. Imagine Dragons. They came to the river.
Yeah.
When It's Time came out, their first single.
Yeah.
Okay. We didn't know. We barely knew who they were.
Yeah.
You know, interviewed them, and then they played TT the Bears in Cambridge to like 37 people.
Wow.
And now they're playing Fenway Park, and that was what, an 8-year jump. That's a pretty.
Wow.
That's not a bad.
I don't think I remember seeing them playing Fenway, and I was seeing them advertised to play Fenway, and I was like, they're big enough, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, is it the new club they're building? That wasn't open yet.
It was packed to the gills.
Kind of fascinating.
You know, it really was. And I mean, you know, went to 2 shows there.
I was going to say, you took in? What did you do? Motley Crue?
Well, a bunch of my very old friends, good friends from high school, were like, let's go see Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, and Joan Jett. Like, all right. It was like 98 degrees and just so we missed Joan Jett because we stayed at a bar on Lansdowne Street to stay cool, basically, until the sun kind of made its way over a bit, and then walked in and
place must have been baking.
Caught the metal, you know.
Caught the metal.
Caught the metal.
I heard it was fun.
Again, another hugely packed show, and well-behaved crowd of 50-year-olds living their childhood, living out their childhood.
See, it's funny. I think I maybe not have talked about this with you. I think I have had this conversation when that show was coming through, but I kind of, I know those bands like everybody knows those bands, but I kind of like, I just don't connect with it like some of you don't.
You had to be there, man.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like how I don't connect with people who grew up with, stuff in the like in the 90s when they were kids, like Rugrats or whatever, all Saved by the Bell, all that stuff. No, you just had to be there, and there's a progression in life. When you grow up in the suburbs, I grew up in Framingham. Yeah, you're not exposed to cool music, The Clash, or you grow up on a good diet of Aerosmith, Van Halen, Led Zeppelin. Yep. That's what they serve you in the suburbs. And it's not until you get to college where you find REM and the Smiths and all those bands that you end up loving as well. So you have this sort of duality. You have this. This is my hair band day. But then I'm going to go see somebody from late '80s, early '90s who I loved.
I think I saw Robert Plant's in town here right around
with Alison Krauss.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes,
they're great together.
If she would, she's amazing. Yeah. Yes.
Must be cool to be able to say you saw him. I mean, see them, but I don't know.
I saw Robert Plant in 1988, and the opening act was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh my!
And
that's a show.
He won that one. Stevie Ray won that one. He won that.
I bet he won a lot of those.
Oh, I don't think you ever want to have Stevie Ray open up for you. But I remember I was at Great Woods at the time, and I was. I guess I can say this now. I was working at Good Vibrations, which was a record store back in like a Strawberries.
Sure.
These are probably not even.
I've never heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Those are like
Strawberries.
Records.
I know.
Strawberries. Okay. So this is one in Natick. There's this place called Good Vibrations, and we used to sell tickets there. Yeah. And sometimes the manager would grab some of the first tickets and put them aside for some of the employees who wanted to go to a particular show. And I remember I was like, "Yeah, you wouldn't mind grabbing me a Stevie Ray Vaughan." Great, Robert Plant. And we had like fifth row center and watching Stevie Ray up that close.
Oh my goodness.
And he's the opener. It's still bright out. I'm like, oh my, this guy. I think that was his kind of comeback. Yeah. He had a little bit of a rehab stint. And he was kind of working his way back to being the god that he was.
I think there's something when you lose those people too soon too. I always think there's like something. I don't know. One, it makes those moments more special. Two, it makes like the regret when you don't go. Like I remember I had a chance to see. I never got to see Prince, who I love. Did you ever get to see Prince?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where?
So, I saw him at the Garden.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it was probably 1995 or 6. Just saw him once, but that was enough.
I had a chance in like probably maybe like college years, like 07 or something. Garden again. And like just one of those decisions that I just hate I made because I chose like a early getaway to Maine on like a Thursday or Friday, and said I'll just get to the lake. Family's up at the lake. And I was like, I'll catch Prince the next time. And there was like no next. It may have been later than that since I don't think I had another shot to really see him locally. So,
let me say, is there time to say this? Is there time to? Are we still?
I don't know what you're going to say. Oh, sure, yeah, you have time. Yeah.
I just didn't know. It's very important. Like, okay, so here's a story. Johnny Cash, is playing the Pavilion in Boston. Okay. Yeah. And a friend of mine calls me and says, "Hey, do you want to go see Johnny Cash?" Mm-hmm. I had to get up the next morning really early for work. It was like a random weeknight. And I was like, it's Johnny Cash. Yeah. I said, okay. Went to the show. Johnny Cash. Amazing, right? Mm-hmm. Last time you ever played Boston. You got to take advantage of those opportunities, especially with a legendary artist. Yeah. Like Tom Waits played the Orpheum almost 25 years ago now. He hasn't been back to Boston yet, but thank God I went to that show to see Tom Waits. That's the thing. If an icon, Tom Petty.
I got that one. I think do you remember that story?
No.
So I got his last show in Boston, and I had the same decision to make. Maine on a Friday night, and I went. My cousin and I went. We were both going to go up, and I looked ahead, and there was bad traffic going up north. And I loved Tom Petty, but I remember trying to convince myself to go to Maine and telling myself, like, last couple set lists, I kind of a little bit similar set list to what I've seen. Maybe I won't. Maybe I can take this one off. We've all had that conversation. Yeah. Traffic was bad going up to Maine. I said, you know what? Spend the night here. We'll go up in the morning. I do want to go see Petty again in Boston. And the show was awesome. Like one of the best ones I've seen. Just completely different set list than what I had seen in the past couple of shows, and played some of the ones personally that just I never hear that were great. I was just like, yes. My cousin Barrett, I remember going with. We were going to go to Maine. We decided to stay, and he was just same deal. And he died like right after, like within a month. I have this great photo. I kind of post it every like few years when it comes up on my thing, of Tom Petty waving goodbye to Boston because I was side stage, and he just looked so happy. And it was just a great moment. And I don't know, it's my favorite photo. I think I'll frame it someday. It's great. But I always say he's like the guy. So all my cousins, we all love him. Like I always thought like I'd bring my kids to go see Tom Petty. My kids who aren't born yet. It's one of those guys. Like, I thought we'd all go to shows together and like they're gone. And it's like, wait, now it's over.
Now that's it.
It's crazy.
So when these kind of, older bands come around and it's somebody you've thought about, just do it.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know.
That's our advice for the day.
There you go. Take that with you, baby.
Did you do it again? Matt Phipps joining us here, radio veteran. We're obviously talking music here because he's got the music background like nobody I know. How many shows did you do? A lot of summer shows, or pretty much just with Dom? Or
yeah. I mean, I don't get to, the freedom is gone, the thrill is gone.
In a good way, right?
In a good way. He's awesome. It's a whole,
Yeah.
When you sign up for it, you sign up for it. You're a dad.
Who did I get? I had a pretty good run this time. I saw Dispatch. We're both fans of Dispatch.
Yep.
I always said we're talking about good people. You were talking about Kravitz earlier. Just genuine. Chad's one of those guys. Yeah. You met him a few times, right? Was he
a Chad
Stokes?
Oh God, yeah. Just once, but they were a huge just asset to the river. They would they would always do great stuff for us.
Yeah.
And
you guys were the station that like played Dispatch music.
I don't think really anybody in Boston played it except us, and which was always baffling to me because they played a show on the Hatch Shell to how many people?
No, I forget what the number was, but
it was
expecting
huge.
a few thousand and got.
You're talking about Madison Square Garden shows that went on and on forever. I mean, this is a band that has a following, so why not?
Was it
why
60,
not cater to them? I think it was more. It was something.
Yeah,
massive.
I mean, for the kids who don't know, go look at the last Dispatch. They made like a video about it because it's like the police weren't ready. The police were like, "Who is this band?"
Right.
Yeah. Which I think didn't that happen with Green Day too back in the day?
Green Day was. My wife was at that show, and. Yeah, she got her belly button pierced at that show. I remember she told me that. She's like, never forget that show because my belly button got pierced and there was a huge mud fight.
So she's like, anytime we tell that story, make sure you mention that my belly button was pierced.
Yeah, but that was craziness. Right on the Hatch Shell, Esplanade, huge mud fight because it was. I think it was either raining or it rained. I don't know. I wasn't there, so but I remember it was quite a thing.
I saw Dispatch with OAR the other night in Guilford, New Hampshire, which is one of my favorite venues. I don't know if you've ever been up there.
I have. It's like a mini
Great Woods.
Exactly
mini Xfinity Center. Yeah, it's great. Nice and intimate.
I used to do summers in Weirs Beach, not too far from there when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know Guilford very well.
Sometimes I like to go there because, I'm from Danvers. Sometimes it's just as easy to ride to Mansfield. Traffic's just so rough out there.
Right.
But
right.
I saw Dave Matthews there. I know Dave Matthews likes Guilford because he does 2 weeknights there every tour. I imagine it's not the most money benefiting thing for him. He doesn't have to stop in Guilford.
But he does it.
He does, and he actually stopped last show. I remember, did his weird Dave look around, and in his funny voice he goes, "Damn, I love this joint, love it." And then he says, "I was like, I knew it." And then he says, "And I also think we should bring the word joint back. It's a great joint." People got to say that more.
Agreed.
Often.
I use it all the time.
Do you?
I love saying that.
Yeah.
It's a great joint.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Check out this restaurant.
Well, I'll try to help you bring it back. That's good. Great joint.
Best ice cream, by the way, in the world is in Laconia, New Hampshire, right next town over.
Biker Week.
Keller House. Yeah, but great ice cream. Keller House.
I tried to get a hotel there one year for a concert at Guilford, and it was Biker Week.
Yes.
And I remember prices go up a little bit, but whatever you pay for say it's like $150 usually for a 2-night stay in Guilford for whatever $150, $200. Biker Week was suddenly like $1,600. I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Big business.
What happened?
Yep.
It's Biker Week, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have now been introduced to Biker Week in my own way. It's very, very interesting. Give me the best, 2 questions then. Give me the best radio story of all time. What's the one that just you know, we always say like
Best
just,
radio
we,
story
we
of all
when we're
time.
just hanging around the bar or whatever, there's always good radio stories being shared. What's the one that like you'll never forget?
Oh man,
I just saw 70 flash through your head.
so best radio story. Okay.
Got
Well, just because it was such a cool moment was Peter Wolf came to the river,
Yep.
and I was interviewing. We did an hour thing on the air where we played a bunch of Giles tunes and
Yeah.
solo Peter Wolf stuff. And I said, Peter, we have this recording that we think was recorded here, and it's a version of "Give It to Me," old Jay Giles band song. And I go, do you remember this? And I played it for him, and he said, I have no recollection of that.
Wow.
But wow, that was a good version of that. But then he says, so this kind of correlates to what happened years ago. He came to BOS
Yeah.
when I was there, and I brought some CDs in for him to play because we let him be guest DJ.
Yeah.
And I had just bought a Tower Records. This is
Yeah.
how long ago it was. This soul compilation, Otis Redding, all these rarities. And he was looking at what I had, and he goes, what is this? And I go, oh, it's this new thing that I think Rhino Records just put out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh man, we got to play something off this. And he played the Otis Redding song that was on there. And then after the show, he said, can I have that CD? And I said, yeah. He goes, I'm going on tour. It'd be great to have it. I said,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh, that's cool.
Years later, I'm walking through Boston Common. I'm walking one way. Peter Wolf is walking the other way.
Wow.
And I look at him. Of course, it's Peter Wolf. And I'm looking, and he looks at me, and he goes, Otis Redding? This is like 10 years later.
That's awesome.
And he goes, how you doing, man?
The guy who couldn't remember the song.
Exactly, but he remembered me. I don't know. That must have been a big moment, him getting that record.
Oh, man.
That's pretty cool.
That is too
So there
funny.
you go. There's
I saw
one.
him pop on stage with him, and you know how him and Springsteen are good friends?
Yeah.
I saw he like would randomly, like first 10 times I saw Bruce back in the day for E Street shows, he would Peter Wolf would just like to the point where it's not even like an introduction. We're gonna bring up Peter Wolf. It's not even that. Peter Wolf would just come on stage,
Yeah.
they'd play and they'd wave, and that's it. No introduction, just Peter's on stage.
Yeah.
It's something he does. And I remember I took my wife to her first show, and I remember she might hate me for saying this, but she goes, "Is that Howard Stern?"
Oh man, that's right.
The long
But
hair.
it's
you know?
true, though.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's true.
I believe it's Peter Wolf, but
That's great.
I've heard great stories about Peter. So, and final one. That's a good one, Tim. With final best career advice, I always ask a returning guest for their best career advice. Think with like the high school kid in mind. We get a lot of high school listeners in here, you know.
Unfortunately, don't go into radio is the first piece of advice. Because there's just not as many opportunities as there once was.
Yeah.
Honestly, see the world while you can.
Oh, I like that.
Really, get out there. I mean, want to take a year off after high school? That's fine. Go and see the world. College will be there when you get back. But do it while you're young, because before you know it,
Freedom's gone.
bills, all the things that relationships, all those things that kind of can be roadblocks at times. But when you're free, when you're the freewheeling Bob Dylan, just get out there and see
I
the
love
world.
that.
See
That's
the
my
world.
favorite Bob Dylan stuff,
Yes.
that freewheeling. Maybe
Yeah.
not my favorite, but it's good
Yeah.
stuff. We were supposed to go see Will Daly tonight. We were this close to seeing a show together, you and I.
We
Yeah.
were. We're due for one. So
know.
you keep pinging me with
I can harass, yeah.
give me more than a 10 minutes notice.
Yeah, I do that. I am known for that. I am known for that, most definitely. Will came in. One more funny musician story. Will came in and he goes, I got to tell you, I pulled in. I go, I completely forgot if I had like an acoustic guitar with me. And he had his classical guitar, which he played beautifully. If you ever get a chance to listen to the Will Daly show, he played some beautiful new songs. He's one of my favorites.
Great guy. And
Great, really.
musician, and just
Club Passim, I sat right next to his mother.
That's nice.
And then, like, there was a little girl there who I guessed, but it was his daughter, young daughter. Maybe, I'm terrible with ages. I'd guess about 7. When I tell you she did not take her eyes off him the whole time, just in awe of just dad up there singing. She's probably seen him a million times, but I mean, still, just like it was the first show. I was just like,
cool.
That's adorable. I loved it. Very nice family, too, though. They were all very nice. Will Daly. Hope you're doing well. Matt Phipps, what a pleasure to meet you.
This was
here for
fun,
a show here.
As it always is, man. I really appreciate you having me in.
It's been a blast. And hopefully the pandemic moves out. I'll get to see a lot more of you here with the concerts and all that good stuff.
Thank you, Drew.
Good stories.
Thanks, buddy.
Maeve Power is our technical director today. I should have mentioned that earlier in the show because I literally looked over, and I know Maeve's name a little bit, but we don't really cross paths too often. But Maeve is on the trigger today, so we appreciate Maeve Power doing the work, technical director, and our program manager, of course, Sarah Blackstone, the boss, Sarah Hayden. It seems like we're starting to hire some people not named Sarah, so that's good. We had all Sarahs here for a little. Yeah. It can get confusing. So thank you all for this, our small but mighty team here in Newburyport. This has been live at Drew's House, Joppa Afternoon Drive. Matt Phipps, thank you, sir. See you later, everybody.